Hey Claiborne, I'm not feeling too well, so Steph is helping me out. She's going to put together the Olaf and Anna Brickheadz. I guess we're on a bit of a Brickheadz kick, and that's okay because I really like these guys. And the more of them that I put together, the easier they get, since LEGO has largely followed the same pattern on every single one. They create the same skeleton, but then they add their own unique character to each brickhead. I should probably be on a lot more painkillers than I'm on now, which wouldn't really be hard since I'm not taking any, but I should be. Anyway, since Steph is putting together Anna and Olaf, I thought I'd talk a little bit about Frozen because I recently learned a little bit about its production cycle, and I thought it was really interesting. Frozen apparently went through a lot of rewrites until it became what it was when it was released, and some of those right up until the release. Of course, anyone who has read the Hans Christian Andersen story knows this, since in his version of the story, Elsa is the villain, the evil queen du jour. And that's the story Disney initially set out to tell. But then they made a big departure and instead made the dynamic duo. And that had all the makings for the classic that we now know. One part sister story and one part princess story, the creative writers behind Frozen had to decide who the villain would be, and also what to do with the token prince. Well, we know how that turned out. I found it interesting to learn that Disney didn't at first set out to tell the story of family that they ended up with, but were initially interested in rehashing the more familiar action-adventure tale of boy meets girl, boy saves girl, boy and girl live happily ever after. I learned about all of this in a creative leadership course at work, just the kind of thing you'd expect I'd take at work. They were talking about breaking molds and getting away from stereotypes and recombining old ideas in new ways. And talked about the shift from enemies to sisters that changed the entire dynamic of the Frozen story. We got what might be the most empowered princesses in the Disney empire, a boy meets girl in a very different way, and a story that focused more on identity and relationships than on power dynamics. It worked out for Disney in the end. They had a blockbuster that's going to get a sequel, and the fans didn't even have to wait 10 years like we did for The Incredibles. And Steph gets all sorts of Olaf sets, including this one. And since I've mentioned it, I know that a lot of people don't really care for the licensed sets. Heck, even I miss the days before Star Wars LEGO. But while talking about Frozen, it's worth remembering that if it hadn't been for that first creative license with the Lucasfilms, we may not have the LEGO that we know, and maybe not even a LEGO at all. I'm going to go lay back down now, Claiborne, but I hope you have a happy Friday the 13th. Over and out.